Standing next to the FedEx office, which is just across the street from the bus depot, which is right there, for which there is a night market tonight, it looks like, from all the pre-setup that's going on. And down there is the main drag, and one parallel block beyond that is the secondary main tourist drag. And all the time I see people cleaning things that in South America I didn't see. Even the bus driver has a little rag just for keeping grease off of the inside of the folding passenger door. This is stuff that Richard drinks. It's for his arthritis more than anything else. Better than orange juice, which has the wrong kind of. When I got to Chiang Rai off the boat, I went to first one place that I wanted as a first choice out of Lonely Planet. It was filled up except for a 400 baht large room, which I didn't need. And then another place was filled. So I started down the street and met a fellow named Richard, who promptly asked me what I was looking for, and I told him. He said, "Let me show you where you can get one for 200 baht. I thought, oh boy, here comes the scam. Richard's from England. Not that that's flies a scam, but at any rate, this is where he brought me, and they had plenty of rooms. And so this is just fine. There's my hot water there. And actually a nice sink. And otherwise, the room is very plain, but it's more than enough for me. Oh, and it's 200 baht, which is like $6.60 a night. This town, my first walk around, it's far more cosmopolitan in the sense that there are more very specific European restaurants. They also sell Thai food, apparently, but their prime is Japanese, German, Dutch, pizza, Italian, and I found lots of little bakeries. I found a little bakery where I had some chocolate chip cookies. And that's my room. Forever to be a famous landmark in this town. Now what's interesting is out back here is this large lot that, unlike so many places you see when they're in a state of not being used, this one's cleaned off and nice. Now maybe it's getting ready to build a good-sized complex here when the economy gets better. I don't know. Okay, this is my first morning in Chiang Rai, and I'm at where it says Boobundan guest house, and I've just walked to the right to that intersection, and then hung a left, which means I'm going north on Jet Ford Road, and I'm guessing, since I can't tell, that where I'm at now is the clock tower, and if it's true, it's spectacular, and it's actually a big turnaround section or intersection, and this is the spectacular looking clock tower. And somehow I'm sure this is a reflection or an allusion to a Chedai for this North Thailand city. All of those sharp spiky things going up should be Nagas. I think if I get in close I probably can't see it myself, but you'll be able to see it when you look at the video. I can't see it inside the camera, but those should be feet perhaps of the dragon. I don't know, just guessing. So here, motors, pumps, everything industrial like that. Here's rolls of sandpaper, large ones. One time I've seen sandpaper rolls that size was for use in floor sanders. That may be the case here. Probably some kind of fertilizer sprayer or something like that. Meat cutters, and looks like a pasta maker. It is a pasta maker. And there's a large compressor, fairly large, medium size. Little electrical charging units, so you can get anything along this main street. What this man's little business is encapsulating, I think, amulets or little tokens, or in the Catholic Church, replica, or bones, for example, almost anything, into little plastic cases. He makes the cases. He heated them up on a burner that's right to the right there, and he fashions them in the little mold that you see right there. Now he's cutting it out, and he'll finish it off. And there's the little thing that this gentleman wants encapsulated. I'm going to heat up the other side of it now. Probably a plexiglass of some sort. Now it's completely flexible. That creates the other half of the mold. These are going to hold it together while it seals itself. Oh, and he's going to put some glue in between the edges there. Okay, I've arrived at the morning market, and I'm going to cruise through here and see if I can find some cherry tomatoes. Now, if you're ever wondering what to do with bananas, you can roast them like she's doing in the morning for breakfast. And something else, I don't know what it is. That looks like it's probably a prelude for toast. If you want to compete with the big gold shops, just set up a shop and do it. Don't know what these little foods are, but they're made in that little mold right there. Kafkun krab. Probably waffle-like things, like you see here. So far, this isn't a food market that I'm looking for, so we'll keep going and hope another portion of it is. It would be interesting to see if Walmart could successfully compete with this cultural attribute of markets. And if they could, how would they do it? Well, that's interesting. Here she brings in plants from out in the Tule somewhere, and then shows the local Thai folks a book illustration of what it is. One of the culturally tragic things about those who are infirm is that they'll hang out on the floor because they don't have the capacity to walk. The floor, the ground, is considered the lowest of the low. And I mean health-wise, religion-wise, culture-wise, everywhere. It's interesting because it looks like, well, I was going to say it looked like the meat section is sectioned off, but it really isn't. There is a meat section over here, but it's not sectioned off from poultry, at least. Maybe that's the difference. Now, I'm in an enclosed area, obviously, but outside and surrounding this is all open area. And I'm just in a little part of this thing. All to my right is probably a whole block of marketplace. And what you want to do as a tourist is, your first goal should be to get totally lost. I'm about to get unlost, so I'm going to go back into the center here and hang a left down one of those long aisles that went into the area I haven't been in yet. And I've just finished at the market in Chiang Rai on my first morning. I'm off to my first Wat. Okay, where we are right now is where the X is near my thumb in the upper left-hand corner. Wat Phrat Thai, Doi Chom Thong. And unfortunately, just as I got here, they were blasting away with the firecrackers, so I couldn't get that on tape, but that's a very Chinese thing. I'm going to wander down here, and then we'll go back up into what I think is the main complex. I'm assuming this is the Wat we're at, because that's where I asked the tuk-tuk driver to take me from the market. I don't know what this is for, although it does allow for burning inside of it. One of the lovely things about Thailand and perhaps Asia at large is the smell of incense wafting about always. This is heavily Chinese influenced, as I'm sure you can probably gather from this way this dragon winds up this post. Now this is the highest hill in Chiang Rai apparently, but as you can see off in the distance we're surrounded by small mountains. And here you can see the detritus from the firecrackers that were let loose, which is very Chinese. I don't know what it symbolizes yet. So what Jackson won't allow inside its town limits is mandatory here. It's a religious requirement. You can see by what's accumulated, we blow off a lot of those puppies around here. I was pretty sure I had permission to come in, but I asked and they reassured me I could come in and take video. Just take my shoes off. Notice offerings are left here. I assume that these are probably offerings to the Buddha, but they are recognized as food for monks. And some of the food that's being put in there are these patties that are this bright pink that I've seen before. I have no idea what they are. Hardly the courage to eat them, although they might be very good. This little nearby building is probably a spirit house of sorts. It has some totems on the stairway and some offerings to the left, as you can see. But inside is a little resting couch. And so it may be a place where a monk gets a little shut-eye once in a while. As I was walking up to this next level, a monk stopped and chatted with me in English, and it was obvious that he was most anxious to practice his English, which is great. Students will do the same thing, and if they don't, I do. Now what I'm looking for now, of course, is differences in style that I'm capable of detecting, because we've seen enough Wats for sure. Here what's interesting is that the decoration on this wall is simply painted on. Otherwise looks pretty much similar, not quite as ostentatious as you might see in Chiang Rai, but let's go inside. As you can see, these have very heavy Indian look to them, at least in my opinion they do. And whether that's a allusion to the Ramayana or whether I'm misinterpreting it, I don't know. And again, contrary to that guide's dismissal, here's another grandfather clock. And there probably the holy tree that's planted whenever a Chedai, major Chedai is planted. Finally some proof that I'm where I had hoped to be. Now I'll go up the next level and see what may be seen. Here's another one of those butterflies that's not quite as dramatically undramatic as that other one, but certainly designed to be camouflaged rather than to be vibrantly telling the predator community, don't eat me. Some little kinds of critters roaming around in here. Tadpoles, perhaps. They look like it. This is interesting. I've never seen a monument like this before. You can see as well as I can what it is. I do notice that each of those circular areas is surrounded by a little canal, if you will. There's no water in it. And this whole little complex is somewhat surrounded, at least figuratively, by a little moat or canal. Here a family is memorializing their trip here. Here where the trees provide shade are benches for people to sit and contemplate. I had an interesting experience as I walked up here. A young man, nicely dressed, came right up to me with a big smile, put out his hand, shook my hand, a little bit firmer than most Thais would shake. They're more like South Americans. It's a very limp shake. And said, talked to me a little bit about where I was from, and then gave me a nice gentle embrace and then continued on his way. Very unique. You'll notice that some of these poles are aligned and some simply provide a perimeter. So the young man I spoke about, he and I chatted a little bit further. It appears that he is one of the rangers with the Thai Army, and he had a book on all of the special forces of the United States, and he was reading that and wanted me to see it, and asked me if I was a ranger or a SEAL or something. I said no, but of course I embellished my past in the Air Force just enough not to embarrass myself, but to make him feel it. Conversation was worthwhile, and left it at that. In theory, this dates to about the 14th or the 16th century. And the legend has it that this area was first looked at by a man named Phra Kaew in 1803 BE, and that may or may not be our calendar year, when he first rode an elephant up here to explore. Probably because it was the highest point in this little area. A couple of elephants with some banana offerings. Notice the tree in the background is swathed in some cloth in order to keep it warm. And this we've seen before. And here a rather simply painted pair of naga at the top of a stairway. This is the dry season when everything is brownish anyway. I wonder if these get more dramatic colors when it's the rainy season. I was going to spend just one day and one night here, maybe one day, but now I've decided to spend 2 days. It really is a pretty little town relative to Chiang Mai and certainly Bangkok. And this kind of personifies it here. And these are probably very nice inside. People have automobiles, you can see. To put into these situations my opinions, when in fact I might be quite ignorant of how these people live. In fact, this whole complex here is either a water or sewer system. Could be that the sewage is down below these air outlets. Yeah, this is the Provincial Water Quality and Water Supply Chiang Rai office. International Standard for Drinking Water. And here's the water quality for today. It talks about the water turbidity. In other words, how much crud is in the water of the Kok River that I came down yesterday. I don't know what this means. Turbidity of the water supply. Obviously a very small percentage of that. Water pH, pH of water supply. So it's probably comparing what the water is that in the river versus what they're able to do with it. Residual chlorine of water supply, so for the treatment. This water is probably safe to drink. I saw this, what looks like a wat up on top, and here an old road going to it, so I thought I'd explore it. Not even going to believe this one. Maybe you see it fly. Maybe that it's been damaged severely. It was a big butterfly at one. Just panning around inside here, if I don't get run over, you can see that this is a huge complex. So let's explore it a bit. Nothing seems to be different here. What's most notable here is the dominance of red as opposed to the dominance of gold. Notice the background is gold icons of some sort on a wood background. This, I think, an extremely beautiful potted plant. Looks like it has bamboo as a base. I'm not sure if this is the Chedai that was referred to, but one was theoretically by legend to have been struck by lightning at some time, and when it exploded apart, it exposed a hidden jade or emerald, actually it's jade, Buddha inside. Now here what's notable on this Wihan is, or temple, is the tremendous amount of gold at the top. Now this is a reproduction, intentionally not exact as the original, which has been taken by a prior ruler down, I think, to Bangkok, to the Wat of the same name. And it is the want of rulers to take the most prized religious icons and move them to wherever their seat of power is. At least like the, what can you call the Taliban? The scum Taliban. They don't destroy other people's religions. Of course, the Taliban in history are not the only ones. Immediately jump to the Nazis, for lack of a better one. This is just one large picture that may not come out on the video because of the reflections, but it shows a procession here, monks on seats, and probably, oh, there's the green Buddha, or the jade Buddha. What specifically this refers to, I don't know. This is interesting because it shows a woman, an older woman. Women are normally not revered much in the religion, but it may be either the king's mother, because I believe that's the king, or I'm part of his family. This may seem like a small part, but it's an important part of the building of a tourist infrastructure, particularly as far away from Bangkok and Chiang Mai as you can, because that extends out the rest of the infrastructure. They've got good roads, and as they improve the sites that already exist and provide new opportunities for trekking and that sort of thing, the tour groups naturally respond, probably in advance of the completion of the infrastructure. And this shrine may surround the base of this what I'm suspecting again is the holy tree. I think it's called Bodhi. Notice the monkey making an offering of a lotus blossom to the Buddha. Now that doesn't look like a Buddha, but perhaps a famous monk. Notice that this naga, or serpent, is at least partially symbolic. Here it's symbolic in the front, but there's the first of the naga that usually is disgorging the other one. Here again, the same symbolic Naga design. Here, photography being very creative, trying to get a close-up of that little bit of detail there. These three Chedai are just being assembled, and I think one is the Buddha, but the one on the right is the king, and the one on the left, they've just put that top portion on, and I suspect that in there will go a statue of the queen. Now once again, notice these long rectangular obelisks, for lack of a better term. Again, I believe that those reflect symbols of this being the king's Wat. And here I believe what is probably a symbolic drum, because I think that's stone. And these are probably artifacts of a famous Buddha. Notice the teeth or dentures on the right there. Pens and pencils and a razor they might have used in their life. Somewhat the same reason that I keep my dad's watch carried in my van with me, as well as a little amulet that he received for an athletics in college. A piece of pottery on display, for which I assume it must be of quite unique quality. I sense that this building serves as a museum also, because there's some, what I'm guessing are rather unique pieces, and they look very, very old. Assuming these are teak, look how beautiful this floor is. Very, very slippery, but very pretty. Now here arrayed are several examples of the Chinese Buddha. They're used also for offerings. See the coins beneath them? Here the half man, or Buddha, and elephant, because the elephant is highly revered. Again, this is in a museum exhibit. Were I able to read, I could understand the true significance of these. And I'm sure that this cabinet is filled with the clothes and the military artifacts of either a famous person or the king himself. Looking at this piece reminds me of looking at the rectories that I looked at in Rome and the Vatican, I believe, and in many of these other churches and museums. But the detailed silver work, the design would be different, but the impact essentially the same. Here are examples of Chedai and lotus blossoms, but I'm thinking that these are containers of rectories, if that isn't a redundant statement. It's interesting to realize how incredibly ignorant I am about flowers. I know that they were one of the great species of forms of life to evolve at one time. Here we have, I don't know if it's an orchid, but it's one of those trees that gets its moisture, one of those plants that gets its moisture from the air. Although it's strange to see these plants, some of them attached, appear to be attached. Others don't appear to be attached. I wonder if they graft themselves on. Now here we have a chicken, which we know, a rooster, which we know can be important. So here we're at the entrance of what I'm calling Wat Phra Singh, S-I-N-G-H. And here an idea of how the painter approaches his job. Probably he's painting his most dominant color, and then he'll add the detail, colors. Again, the more that they can restore all of these wats and any other monuments and temples and so forth that would be tourist attractions is to their benefit. Now, here's a fascinating tree. What's most fascinating are the flowers and so forth that come out from it, from this tangle of what look like vines instead of limbs, although up above it does have limbs. And are these otherworldly looking or what? Surely I have to keep my fingers away from these or they'd leap out and grab them. It just has that look about them. All throughout this complex we'll see examples of restoration. Okay, this complex is a sister to the Wat Phra Singh in Bangkok that houses apparently the original Jade Buddha, and this has yet another copy of the Jade Buddha. This man's given me some permission to take a look at what he's doing. Remember, labor is less than $7 an hour, a day. Here a bell tower that will probably be a little bit last to be decorated again, but will be very pretty when it is. The blue sphere on top, I wonder what that stands for. Or if it's an allusion to the lotus blossom. I'm pretty sure this entire complex houses a monastery also, since I see many monks here. And here is another ceremonial chariot, or whatever you want to call it, perhaps for drawing either an important personage and or the Jade Buddha replica. This impressive entryway. Notice that it was built long before the building on the left and probably the building on the right. Wouldn't it be something to have one of these installed on your property? With a little table in the center for having lunch. And here a room to house the ceremonial drums. And I'm guessing this may be one of the old trees, but not that old. The one beyond it, probably much older. Well, the tree is, but here a very dramatic gate. Notice the threes, 3 nagas, 3 more nagas. 3 apparently is a very important number in Buddhism. Remember, a temple complex, to be a temple complex, has to have 3 buildings, including a chedai. Another small temple building. A young monkette came up and chatted with me. Their usual way, if they want to talk English, they'll start off by saying hello or welcome, and that's your entree to begin talking. Now notice again on the left this vertical, whatever you want to call it, decorative piece, supposedly symbolizing that this is a king's wat. In other words, it has his specific blessing, perhaps even built for him, or at least taken under his tutelage, if you will. And you can probably see that this was the first building that was totally restored, I'm guessing, since this rosette here at the bottom, this pedestal, has been completely done. And notice everywhere when they give a command, it's the word please is graciously added. And again, up front here on the right and left are those vertical devices. Not the first scene I've seen of a shipwrecked at sea. And notice the blue Buddha. If that in fact is a Buddha. Imagine this story. A Buddha wielding a chariot, about to brain somebody who's very concerned about it, who appears to be trying to get something out of the ground with a long shovel. And this Buddha's elephant receiving gifts. I've seen scenes similar to this where a character carries a maiden. Are her wrists and her ankles bound? Or is she just holding them that way in some kind of rigor mortis pose? So who are these people with the pointy hats that I'm probably misinterpreting as Buddhas? Not unexpectedly, like European art, are the various symbols that even I can recognize that have significance. The umbrellas, which may or may not be royal, that the figure in the upper right is carrying and perhaps assembling. What looks like a Buddha sitting on his pedestal, the elephant to the right, perhaps wats in the background. This, I suspect, is a replica monument, although I'm unable to see anything inside of that clear area in that chedai. I wonder if that chedai is gold. And if it is, how amazing that it sits here, unprotected. Look at over in the corner, we have 4 monks who are praying to a Buddha. And look at this black Buddha wearing gold. Is that just an artistic license? And here perhaps brass, perhaps marble, perhaps teak. This door is difficult to interpret. It appears that there's a beast right here. There's legs and a clawed hand. Here another beast with his feet up going up here, but then another claw, which may be for that man. And then another beast. This gets all mixed up. And yet there's one dominant claw at the top reaching up. No apparent head is visible except for that right there. But that's a curious thing. It seems there's an eyeball in the center, 4 or 5 teeth on top, and a couple on the bottom. And there's a wing which the creature may have on its back. This certainly looks like a human forearm, but with clawed hand. And these 2 huge tusks. Could there be an elephant embedded in there somehow? Now I'm at Wat Klang Wiang. This is an interesting little sign next to what is a display apparently of a original country trade of something. It looks like she's holding a basket that would hold grain or something, and it looks like there's a press behind there. Can't be sure. And this sign nearby says no smoking. They have to be related. I don't know if that basket is part of what it is, but she looks like she's about to step on something as though that were a press of some sort. Continue this kind of banal country image. This is a cute little area. It's too bad they don't fix it up nicely. The guidebook makes the comment that this might look new, but in fact it's 500 years old. Beautiful building. This structure just covers the well hole, which is right there, and it's got a caisson about 4 feet in diameter. Beautiful chadai. Notice it's very elaborate with its niches and its Buddhas, surrounded at its base by elephants. And there, a large Wihan. And isn't this a pretty elegant with the teakwood belt enclosure? Notice all along the side of the Wihan are reliefs of animals. This may allude to one of the pre-Buddha stages of Buddha, when he was involved in living in the wilderness and associating with animals. Very small little building holding what doesn't look to be a Buddha. Rather, it seems to be a highly decorated with those reeds or whatever. Very much similar to what we saw at the first Wat today on the hill. Now these scales of the Naga on the banister here appear to be ceramic and then inlaid on the surface of the Naga. Here a pair of matching grandfather clocks. This Buddha unique in that it's all gold except for the head and the left arm. Now it may be that that's all in the process of being restored, and I'm guessing that's the case. But what's interesting is look at the light show above. That's certainly not 500 years old. Here are 2 pair of elephant tusks. This is interesting. I haven't seen this concept since Bangkok. These doors are hard to picture because these have glass on them, which makes the reflection difficult. But this looks like a woman. She wears apparently warrior outfit but lacks the sword we usually see.